Hello everyone, this is Emancipated Soul. I'm back like a bad habit after taking a hiatus this summer. It's Labor Day, so I decided to get my ass back to work and start making videos again. But seriously, I took the summer off. For several reasons. One of the reasons was, I had some travel to do and I wanted to enjoy the summer weather. And another reason was for personal growth and introspection. Since it marked the year anniversary of me becoming MGTOW, or at least identifying myself as MGTOW, I decided to kind of reflect upon the past year. And in that process, I came across a video of John the Other. And basically in that video, he was arguing against the position that some have that all women are innately evil. Or that women are more evil than men. And I totally 100% agree with him. Now he got a lot of backlash and criticism for that video. I'll post a link in the description and as well as MGTOW Messenger's response. But it really made me think about whether the behavior we see of women in modern times and today is a result of them being innately evil, or is it socialized behavior? And I tend to agree with John. I know this is old news now, but I decided to go ahead and put my 2 cents worth in before I just continue on making more videos. I agree with John the Other that, and I'll get into the reasons why, but I agree that most of the behaviors we see in modern women are because of socialization. And moreover, I think it's more an issue of human nature. Now, for those who tend to think that women have some corner on the market on evil, I can testify from firsthand experience that they do not. Having lived and worked in 2 war zones, I can attest to the evil that men do to one another without any prompting from women. And moreover, just think about the blame that we bear as men. A while back, I'm going to digress for a minute, but in one of my videos, I said that I did not blame females for female nature. Like, for example, I don't blame women for being hypergamous, or any more than I blame men for their nature for seeking youthful-looking women. It's just our nature. The rub that I had is the lies, the myths that we'd been fed that, all women were innately good and that men were, somehow innately bad and had to be, quote unquote, civilized by women. That we needed women to make us better. And no one really taught us as men the true nature of females and our true nature. And that we've been spoon-fed this lie of not only that women are just benevolent and good and sweet, but that we've been fed the lie of romantic love and fidelity and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that that's not the case with some people, but I'm just saying for the majority of us, our psychology, our biology rules us, and we are who we are. But getting away from that, getting back to the subject of are women more innately evil than men, or is it socialized behavior that we're observing? And I would say that it's definitely socialized behavior. Earlier this year, my maternal grandmother passed away, and as you frequently do at funerals, you see family that you hadn't seen in years, and you get together and you tell stories. And as we were sharing these stories from the past, I realized how much women have changed. Their nature hasn't changed. I mean, women are still women. Women, 60 years ago or 100 years ago are the same as women today, as far as their internal drivers and physiology and biology and such. But they were very different. I'm going to use the example of like my grandmother and my great aunt. They grew up in the South as black women. They picked cotton, literally. My grandmother, she never went past the 8th grade because her family needed her to work in the fields and earn money. And she grew up in the Great Depression. And she was telling me about stories like how on Christmas, their presents were, they got nuts and some fruit, and that was considered a treat. Occasionally if it was a good year, they may get some clothing and maybe a new pair of shoes. And, even, years later, into her middle age, when she didn't have to worry about, the day-to-day necessities, she still lived very frugal and had a strong sense of ethics and a strong work ethic. And, my mother was a very strong, or is a very strong, and independent woman, not in the way that you think about it today, not in an arrogant way. She just always quietly handled her business and took care of things she needed to take care of. And I contrast, women of that time to women now. And even though that their biologies are the same, their, physiology is the same, their attitudes are completely different. I can imagine no woman today, my generation or subsequent generations, being like my grandmother or my great aunt. It's just a different mentality. Today women are very entitled. Now, men tend to be very entitled today as well, but I would say more so with women. And I'm not saying that all women today are entitled, narcissistic little princesses. In fact, I know many good women today. For example, my sisters, some of my female cousins. I have some incredibly wonderful female coworkers that I enjoy working with, and I have some female friends that are good women. Now, I'm not saying to some degree, to some extent, they do possess a hypergamous nature, solipsism, and do operate in accordance with Briefhoff's law. But what I am saying in general, they're good, decent human beings. And we have to, if we blame women for everything and they say, oh, all women are evil, we rob ourselves of opportunities for self-reflection and introspection. We don't really examine the root causes of their behavior and maybe how we as men collectively, maybe not individually, but collectively have contributed to the negative behaviors we observe in women today. I mean, think about it. The majority of the legislators today are men, but yet these misandric laws that hurt men are passed and continued and perpetuated, and there's no politicians willing to stand up in behalf of men. So, these men have passed these laws, have promoted and passed these laws to benefit women to the detriment of men so they can get votes and garner more and more power and wealth. So, who's really evil in this scenario? To me, I think men are more culpable. We're throwing each other under the bus for the sake of wealth and power. And this is nothing new. Let's take slavery, for example. Slavery's been, going on for eons, but let's look at relatively recent times and the history of the founding of the American colonies and how the colonies and the cotton industry was founded on the free labor of slaves. And it wasn't women that did this. It was the greed of men, wanting wealth. And once they had overfarmed the land in the South and the soils, they could see the writing on the wall, the nutrients had been zapped from the soil from overproduction. They looked west to Texas. They wanted to expand slavery out west. And that prompted a bloody civil war that took, tens of thousands of lives, and this was the doings of men. So I think it's not only disingenuous, but we're not doing ourselves any favors if we just pin everything on women and say, oh, well, all women are evil. I don't believe all women are evil. I don't believe all men are evil. I just believe it's human nature that if we can take advantage of another person or another group, it's human nature that we will do so, even if it's to the detriment of the other group or other individuals. And let's look at how individually we as men have contributed to our own misery. how our competition with one another and lack of emotional empathy for our fellow men has, led to the current situation, or maybe not led to it, but has contributed to our current situation. Think about how much better off would we be collectively as men if individually we stopped seeing one another as our competition, right? And shared and opened up our experiences and thoughts and feelings like we're starting to do now. We're so quick to open up to women and to share with women, but we don't have that same tendency towards our own fellow men. Our natural tendency is to distrust, to covet, to withhold from other men, and we need to change that. In conclusion, I just want to wrap this up by saying, having been through marriage hell and divorce hell myself, I can definitely sympathize and empathize with men who are angry, who are angry with women. And while I think that venting those feelings of frustration and anger is healthy, that red pill rage stage, as we call it, that's not a place you want to dwell indefinitely. I think as men going our own way, if we are to transition into more enlightened and self-aware individuals, we cannot perpetually give in to anger and prejudice, but at the same time, we need to value ourselves enough to not engage in potentially self-destructive social practices like cohabitation and marriage. We need to be as aware of our own nature and proclivities as we are aware of female nature. Well, that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for listening, and more videos to come.